Welcome, everybody, to the Competition Archery Media Podcast, where we explore all things pertaining to competition archery. I'm your host, PJ Riley, and our CAM podcast is brought to you by O'Neill's Classic Archery. So today with us, we have from Colorado, fresh off his first ever appearance in the Shootdown and Senior Pro at the last ASA, Shawn Greathouse. Shawn, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We were just talking about it a little while ago, Shawn, but talk about, we'll get into the particulars in a second, but how does it feel? How was it going into that shoot down, and then the crowd reaction and your reaction at home? What did that all feel like for you?
You know, I was actually pretty comfortable going into the shoot off. That's easy to say, but once you get into the shoot off and you know, you're standing up there with all those, those guys are good. Yeah. So when you're standing up there with those guys and they start hitting 14s out of the gate and 12s and everything else, and you're over there on a long turkey and your pin's shaking like it hadn't shaken all weekend, and things change pretty quick. So, yeah. So we should let folks know. So you had been shooting ASA. I forget my numbers that I did there, but it's like since 2009, I think. Actually, 2006. Yeah, and I started straight in the semi-pro.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those deals where, you know, in Colorado we don't have the amount of archers, target archers specifically, like in other parts of the country.
Right.
And, you know, back then I was feeling pretty big in my britches, and I was like, maybe I had to go shoot the pro stuff. And, well, I think I'll just start. Let me just dip my toes in the water in the semi-pro class. And boy, I'm glad I did, because it's a whole nother world out there. Big ocean. And I live in a small pond. So.
And you got to, this is your first year actually in the senior pro class, in a pro class. So London was your fourth tournament ever as a pro.
That's correct.
And
That's
bam,
correct.
You just, what was working that got you up to the top of that leaderboard?
Well, it's, I know I can compete with those guys. And I've done okay in the semi-pro division. I've come close to winning out and going into the open pro a couple of times, been right on the bubble, and, you know, just haven't quite got it done. And so this year, my first two shoots, I finished kind of middle of the pack in the senior pro, and that was okay, you know, for your first time in the pro event.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm flying home and I'm not happy about it. I'm not a middle of the pack kind of guy. I don't want to be in the middle of the pack. And, you know, I spent quite a bit of time, obviously Tim Gillingham, Kyle Douglas, myself, we're all pretty good friends. And, we go to dinner often and talk archery, talk bow hunting, whatever. And, they've been telling me a long time, I need to start punching.
Right. That's right. Yes.
And so I actually, after finishing in the middle of the pack at the second event, I decided, you know, I'm going to go play around with it. I do have target panic or get where I can, you know, really throw one off bad if I under pressure and stuff.
Yeah.
And that showed in the shoot off. So I got some things to work on, but I actually was able to make some changes to my release, my shot execution, and that helped a bunch. I'm aiming steadier, made some changes to my bow equipment, and just spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort and energy into it. And the way I look at it is I'm the young guy coming into the class. So
that's right.
Not that I have good eyesight, but I've got hopefully better eyesight.
Did you go from a hinge to a thumb button? Is that what you?
So since I've been shooting the ASAs, I've always shot primarily a hinge. I also shoot a pull through. Hamski made a pull through release. We called it the breakthrough. We also made a cure. We don't currently make those anymore, but they're both pull through style releases.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm the most comfortable aiming with because I have no anticipation.
Right.
So, you know, the problem with that is when you get in a situation where, you know, it's for score, it takes me so long to get the safety off those types of releases, and you really have to be set up in the wall identical every time to really shoot them well.
Right.
And I found my shot was breaking down, real quick, and I was dropping more points because of bad shots. I had the distance, and my shot would break down, and I'd shoot an 8 or even a 5, and you just can't do that in this class. So I made the decision to give it a try and switch releases, and that's working right now. So we'll keep riding it, see how long it goes.
We should mention, for folks who don't know it, Shawn mentioned Hamski because he is a co-owner of Hamski Archery. Lots of products we see out there in the shoot downs, arrow rests, everything that guys are shooting out there. So you went to a thumb button, which, I mean, we've all seen Kyle Douglas. He's crazy consistent with that. And Tim shoots an index finger usually, although I want to say at a recent tournament, I think I saw him shooting a hinge or a thumb button. I don't know. He always switches
shooting
up.
A thumb. Yeah, he goes back and forth. That's
So then you come into London. So I'm guessing your shot was working and you had the distance. You tell me, how was it working for you?
So both the previous tournament, what was that? Camp Minden.
Minden. Yes, you're correct.
Minden. Yeah. Yep. That's the first tournament I went to with the thumb button. And I think I guess that would be Thursday. That was the team shoot Thursday. I'm out there practicing. It was kind of windy at that shoot. So I was having kind of a hard time on the bags, and it wasn't going great. But I'd committed to the thumb button. So I went ahead and stuck with it. Didn't have a great team shoot. Wasn't real sure what to expect. But when I actually got out onto the course, I fared well, and I ended up being the 6th man, just the first guy out of the shoot at Camp Minden.
No kidding.
So I was encouraged.
Yeah.
Then going to this last one, London, signed up for the team shoot. Start getting acclimated to the targets, judging the distance. I'm the quote pro on the target. I'm not sure those guys that were shooting with me would have considered me that after shooting with me. It was, there's almost a different kind of pressure, or can be a different kind of pressure in a team shoot. And when you already struggle a little bit with target panic and you're working on a new release and that's in the back of your head.
Yeah.
I found myself starting to get on the trigger and kind of throw my arm and I'm pretty sure I was the lowest guy in our group that day. And those guys were probably walking away shaking their heads. So it was kind of a long night because I'd been practicing so well at home and just had to put it out of my head and go, we're going to have those days.
Yeah.
I've been shooting good. I can judge, like, I got this.
Yeah.
And so leading up to it, it was really good until the team shoot happened. And then just kind of had to put that out of my head and went out, hit the practice range early the morning of the shoot, and then went straight out onto the course thereafter. And I started on probably the softest part of the course, which was, I was able to hit a few 12s out of the first 5. And I was able to, it wasn't soft, but it was the softer part of the range.
Right.
And
right.
I knew a lot of the big guns hadn't made it down there yet. So, I turned around and I saw my name on the board and I was like, well, that probably is not going to happen again. So
that's awesome. So then you go into day 2 and now I would imagine if there's going to be pressure, that's probably where you feel it more. Cause I know you were shooting with, who was in your group? You weren't, were you with
Tim? It was Tim Boykin and myself.
Boykin, that's right.
Yep. And then Tim Gillingham and Jeff Hopkins.
That's right.
Were the peer group. And, I'm good friends with Tim. We hunt together, see each other at Christmas time, so I was comfortable shooting with Tim just because I know him. I know how he is. And, Tim is who he is. Yeah. So that wasn't a problem, but you never know with the other guys. And I've got to say, it was a pleasure to get to shoot with both Tim Boynton, Jeff Hopkins, and of course, Tim Gillingham as well. So
you were able to maintain it. Your confidence was up. Your shots were good. All that was working.
It was. You're going through the shoot, and it was tough to see in the morning. So we were all having issues, knowing exactly where to aim on the targets and such like that. So I kind of felt like, if I can just get the judge them correctly, and make good enough shots to stay in the 10, on kind of the longer ones, and then maybe kind of pick and choose some to kind of gun a little harder at. That was kind of my game plan. And quite honestly, that, you always hear it, you can't win it on day one, but you can sure lose on day one. And then going into day two, you've got to put 2 days together to have a chance. And I had no expectations, at leading it. I was hoping to hold it together well enough to, make the shoot off. Yeah. And so it was fun as, 5 targets down and you're still looking up there and you're still on the board and you're going, wow, okay. 5 more targets in and I just was focused on managing the course. Nice. And I did give quite a few points away that I think I shot 4.8s that day that were left and right. They weren't distance. One was a mountain line. It was only about 37 yards, but you could not see it. I was the leadoff guy and you could not.
The Black Panther. Yeah. That one is a dark one.
So I thought I shot it left. It turns out I hit it right of the 10 and
how about
you
that?
Just couldn't see it.
That's crazy.
That's how it goes.
Okay, so you've watched the shoot downs before, and this year in the ASA has been kind of cool because we are seeing a lot of people get to their first shoot down ever. And I think at London, so you were there for Senior Pro. We had Samantha McCann in Women's Pro and Ryan Reed in Open Pro. You 3 all had your first shoot down ever. Justin Martin was there in Open Pro. That's only his second time in. What's that like? I mean, you've seen it. Is it what you thought it was going to be, or was it different? Or
I think for me, I've always believed I could get there.
Yeah.
And so finally making it there, the part for me, since I've been shooting these for so long, and as a co-owner of Hamski, I've met so many people, and after you make it and everybody's coming by the booth, congratulating you, genuinely happy that you made it.
Yeah.
That's the coolest feeling in the world. It's, once you make it, it's an addiction. You want to make it again. And I'm still continuing to work hard. Trust me.
Right.
It seems like a lot of folks will make it and then they'll have a little drought for a while and they won't make it again for a while. And boy, I hope that doesn't happen to me. I'm still focused.
It didn't scare you off the first one in there.
Oh no. It's, you're standing up there with some of the best that have ever walked the planet. Yeah. And, I don't know that I'm one of those guys. I had a couple of good days, but, it is a cool feeling.
What's that like standing there with Tim Gillingham? I mean, he shot, I believe he got a couple bonus rings on the longer targets out there. I mean, you've watched him do that for years and years and years. I'm guessing it wasn't a surprise.
It's not a surprise. I mean, you're standing with him, Hopkins. I don't know how many he's won. Then they're not going for second place. Right. Those guys want to win, and of course, I would have been happy if I could have held it together well enough to hang on to a podium spot. I've just been putting in these small goals. One was just to get on the leaderboard. One was to make a shoot off. Of course, I'd like to podium, and then I'd like to win one.
Yeah. The other 2 were, of course, Bill McCall and Tony Tazza, also been there, done that.
Yep. So nothing new to them. One thing I learned is I've got to definitely work on, I've got to go in there just like it is in my backyard and shoot aggressive. And you can't simulate those nerves.
Right.
I'm not a big spot guy. That's probably my weaker area. And this last weekend, I went to a spot tournament, just a local spot tournament. It was a 900 or a 1500 round.
Yeah.
Went to that just to kind of try to simulate some nerves and shoot against some of the better spot guys and trying to replicate that, because you just can't replicate it.
Right.
And, the other thing I learned was, I should have stuck more to my game plan. Obviously I would have liked to have won, but I was really disappointed in, as you start seeing guys hit those 14s. I think all 4 guys except for myself hit that hyena, hit the 14. And I never aim at the 14s. I never practice for them. I don't ever find myself in that position where I need to. I mean, semi-pro, there's no shoot down.
Yeah.
So why, so when I started having to aim at the 14 on the hyena and then the coyote, I was aiming scared.
Gotcha.
Pin was moving around and fortunately, I watched the show back and the camera angle didn't make the coyote look quite as bad. I mean, it was a miss, so it was bad. But if they would have really seen my shot, it wasn't good.
If they could see what your pin was looking like in there.
yeah, it was not good.
That's interesting, though. I never thought about that, but you're right that in no other situation are you ever going to shoot the 14 except there. And you don't practice that. I mean, I'm never going to be in a shoot down, but I never shoot at it in my yard. That's just not what I aim at.
Right. It's now it's something that I'm going to start working on more in the future. Yeah. But it was definitely, it's all hindsight's 2020, but kind of looking at the points that I left out on the course because of left, right, and some of that was nerves. My shot was breaking down a little bit. Yeah. And then going into the shoot off, I aimed so much more comfortably, at the 12.
Right.
And that hyena, if I would have just shot, I had the yardage on it and I was just aiming scared on the 14s, and that's not going to work.
Well, it's one of the things that I thought was cool was, you're out there shooting, you are a competitive archer, but you're also co-owner of Hamskea. And have you talked about that since you guys got back, about what that means to have co-owner of Hamskea also is out there shooting at the top level? We see Brandon Reyes out there, True Ball Excel. He makes those shoot downs. Levi associated with Tack Veins. And have you guys talked about that's a good, people can say, well, Shawn, he knows what he's talking about.
Well, so when we started this company, there was 3 of us, Tim Gillingham, myself, and my other business partner, Andrew Munsell. And we've since bought Tim out, just kind of was a conflict of interest with his other day job. But that's always been important to us, and it's worked really well to our favor because we're approachable. We're out there shooting amongst our peers. A lot of our people that we're competing with, shooting with, they have a lot of great ideas. We're able to be out there. We know what will work and what won't work. A lot of times our competitors have ideas and we're approachable. So that's worked well for our company.
Yeah.
And so it is important to us to, be involved in what it is we're doing, whether that's, bow hunting. There's not a product that we build that I wholeheartedly 100% wouldn't recommend to somebody else to use.
Right. We should mention the other co-owner is
Andrew Munsell. So
yeah.
and he's bow hunter. He's here in Colorado. He's killed the big 9 species. There's 10 big game animals. He can't draw his desert sheep, or he probably would have killed that. We're all every year I don't know how many days we spend afield, but probably, I don't know, 30, 40 days afield hunting,
right?
And testing our equipment. And this year, Tim Gillingham, myself, and Andrew Bunsell, we're going on a caribou hunt in Alaska together.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. We're looking forward to that.
So I have to ask, when Tim is out there on a hunt, what does he complain about out there? He has his rangefinder, so he doesn't have to judge distance. There's got to be something, though.
Well, we went on a moose hunt a couple of years ago, and Tim said it was the best fishing trip he'd ever been on. Not moose hunting, fishing trip. Yeah. The moose were few and far between. So, I think we were in the bush 10 days or something like that. And I think Tim may have seen 2 bull moose in that time. Right? And yeah, so
I like picking on Tim just because I think he's a great guy, and I love listening to him out there. And I know nobody cares or loves more than he does.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
If there's something to test, Tim has done it.
He has. It's fun. It's kind of funny watching him around camp and stuff, because when he gets something in his head, whether he's going to make a little lean-to or, it's all or nothing. There's no in between. And it's kind of funny to watch.
How long has Hamskea? When did that company start?
So we actually, Hamskea was born. Tim and I were traveling together to the ASAs, and this was in 2008.
Okay.
And Tim had an issue with one of his arrow rests that he was using at the time, and he was upset and kind of complaining. And he said, Greathouse, we ought to just start our own arrow rest company. And I looked at him and I said, let's do it. And he looked at me and he says, really? I said, yeah.
What were you doing at the time?
Well, so I had a fence building company.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of burned out and tired of building fence and looking kind of for something new myself. So I told him, I said, I'll sell that and let's start our own accessory company. And in 2008, he won the ASA Classic, I remember. And right after the Classic, we went, myself, Andrew, our other business partner, and myself went on a elk hunt in Idaho. And Tim and I were talking about this business we were starting. And Andrew said, I'd kind of like to be a part of that. And it was a good thing that we did, because Andrew's kind of got the organization part of it down. He does all of our patents. He's in charge of all of our engineering here at Hamskea. I'm kind of the day-to-day operations and the financial and the money guy. And so it worked out really well. And nice. So that was in 2008, and formally in 2009 is when Hamskea was formed and actually started.
And what was the first product?
So that's kind of a good story. And a lot of the viewers will probably remember this. Tim was talking about this arrow rest we're coming out with and we're building, and none of us are machinists. None of us are mechanical engineers. Andrew's an engineer, electrical engineer, but none of us are mechanical engineers. And Tim keeps telling everybody about this new arrow rest that we're coming out with. It's going to be great. And we're not machinists. We really don't know what we're doing at this point in time. And, that's a couple-year endeavor to design, develop, source, do all the things that you've got to do. And so Tim had this idea for this to level his bow sight. And he kind of had this crude little device that he was using. And I told Tim, I said, Tim, you got to quit telling people about this arrow rest we're coming out with. You're putting a lot of pressure on us. I said, but that level we can do that. We could do that in 6 months time,
Yeah.
And, so our very first product was our easy third axis level.
Gotcha.
And,
every bow shop has one of those.
It's been a great device. So we sell a lot of them.
Yeah.
How
about that?
I think that was 2009 when we came out with that. And then it wasn't until 2011 when we came out with our first arrow rest, the Versa Rest.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
And then now how did you get into the peep sight? Because that's kind of a different animal too.
So we were kind of looking for things that the current market had, that there were things that we didn't like.
Right.
Andrew came up with the idea of putting baffles in a peep. And that's really where we started with our Insight peep system. Was we wanted something to cut down on the glare. And so we made up some prototypes. They were much bigger than they are now. And excuse me. Started kind of working through the design, and as you're kind of getting involved in this, that's all we were shooting in-house. Okay. We had to design lenses with, clarifying lenses for our scopes and all these different things. And we actually machined our very first apertures, because we weren't sure if we were going to make this thing. So we didn't want to do molds and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And as you're kind of really diving into this and shooting this in your backyard, and using your lenses, and then of course we'd go to local shoots and we'd have it in, and nobody really knew, they weren't paying attention, so
sure,
we were good.
Peep sights doesn't stand out.
And we had provisional patents in place and all that, so we were good. But what we found out is the clarity and stuff that our clarifiers offered in this, and combine that with the light baffling and the anti-glare capability of the peep. We really had something, and it was amazing when we came out with it. We weren't sure what to expect in terms of sales. Our very first run, I think we did 1,000 of them, which those were gone in the first 2 days of sales. I remember our Facebook post at the time. We're used to getting, at the time, 1,500 views maybe. Yeah. And the thing had like 45,000 views in the first 2 days. It was crazy. So
I remember we did a video at ATA with, I think David Hauser was the person on camera that we had, and that one blew up, just went crazy.
Yeah. So it's been fun. That's the cool thing about owning an archery accessory business is, you get started down these projects, and then they rabbit trail off and go different directions. And hopefully at the end of the day, you can come together with a better product.
Yeah. And, what's like the goal? What's the goal that you have for Hamski in terms of the direction you want to go? Or is it just kind of wherever it goes?
We definitely have some goals. Our goal is to be whatever category it is we're doing, whether it's peep sights, arrow rests, those are kind of the two that we're known for. Yeah. We have sight leveling tools and other things, but we want to be known as the most innovative and the best product out there. Obviously we've put together a really good team of folks now. When we first started, I was the man wearing all the hats, and I'm fortunate enough now to have good people in place that are, running the day-to-day operations. I can get out and practice for these ASAs, or actually it gives me a chance to sit back with Andrew, and where we can really look at what's the next best thing for Hamski. We've got some things like I think I was telling you earlier that are in different categories that, they're probably a few years out yet. Yeah. But to continue our company growing and moving forward, we've got to look at those other areas or other product categories to continue to move our company forward.
I got to imagine being able to shoot and compete at the level that you do, I mean, that has to be invaluable on the inside because you'll have an idea of, yeah, this could work, or nah, this really isn't going to cut it, just from your own experience.
Absolutely. It helps. Yeah, absolutely. No question. I think that's why it's so important that we're all diehard bow hunters and tournament archers, because we get tons of ideas from, the guy that we're competing on the line. We get, I don't know, I would say probably once a month, somebody comes to us with an idea on hey, you ought to try, what about building this? I've been thinking about that. Or, we get some really good ideas. The hard part is when you look at it and you go, man, that's a really good idea, but it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint because it's so, niche.
Right. Right.
I mean, yeah, you'll sell them, but you're not going to sell a ton of them. And we don't have the time to put that amount of energy into that particular idea. Sure. So, I mean, it's kind of like, we've got buckets with a bunch of ideas, and we've got some buckets that are clear back on the back burner, and we want to do that, but these others are more pressing, and it's been kind of fun growing the company because, when you first start out, we didn't have the resources to hire engineers and to hire, development teams and all these things. And now we're finally starting to get, a team together where we have people focused on those different products. Before it was just, Andrew was doing all the design. I mean, we would sit in there and give him our input and give him some ideas and things to noodle on. But Andrew has a day job too. So he's not, we don't have 100% of his time, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, I know when you came out with the Epsilon, I don't know who your CAD person is, but he sent us all the drawings that we worked into our video. I mean, that's top level stuff. That's what everybody's doing. You got to have someone like that.
Yeah, it's been good. We actually have a mechanical engineer intern working for us for the first time this summer. So that's been kind of fun to get some new insight, and we're starting to put together a team that we're proud of.
Yeah. So how does that feel for you, being a co-owner of the company and being a competitor, when you see guys using Hamskea products like Kyle Davidson and Tim Gillingham do what they do?
That's the most rewarding part of the business for me. As you know, any job, any business, there's things that you like and there's things that you don't. And the bigger you get, the more you have a target on your back, the more guys are coming after you, the more growing pains you have. And sometimes that's really hard at the end of the day to be positive about, when you've got all that negativity and negative things. So for me, the best part, the thing I love most about Hamskea is traveling to these national tournaments, going to a local tournament, being out, 10 miles from the trailhead in the middle of nowhere, running into a guy bugling that's running your equipment. That is cool. Going to Australia on a Asiatic water buffalo hunt, the guy stepping out saying, and knowing who Hamskea is and using Hamskea products, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I enjoy that. I remember standing on the line in Vegas one year, and I got guys on both sides of me, using our arrow rests, and one of them was using our peep sight, and I'm just shooting. They had no idea who I was, and I'm just shooting my game. And then pretty soon you start talking, and they're like, what do you do? I said, well, see those arrow rests, we build those. So that's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, that is awesome. Shifting gears a little bit, because I was just thought of this. You're from Colorado, where the ASA is not, there's 3D out there, but that's not the type of 3D that's typically associated with the West. How do you get into the ASA being out there? So
I remember I actually got into archery after through hunting.
Yeah.
Never picked up a bow, went through 4-H. I did shooting sports, but I never did any of the archery. And I had the privilege. My dad took me hunting when I was a kid, and I got hooked on it. And every year we'd go out, and it got to where it was almost too easy to go out and
with a gun.
Yeah. And so I had told my dad, I said, when I kill the bull elk I'm looking for, I'm switching. And in 92, killed a pretty good bull with a rifle. And that October went straight to the archery range and bought my first bow. And I bought the wrong spined arrows. I didn't know what I was doing. And it was in that my dad was kind of like, what are you doing? You know, why would you want to shoot one of those things, you know, like to hunt with? And I started shooting. I spent a lot of time at the outdoor range. And one evening they had a Wednesday night club league, and the guys came out and they said, you know, you're going to have to either join our club and shoot the league or we're shutting the range down. So I joined, and that was when we had 2-dimensional, they called them Pottinger targets. I don't know if they were ethafoam targets, and they had like little scoring rings kind of burned into them. And you used to have to take lipstick and put lipstick on the ends of your arrows, because if you're shooting a fast enough rig, it would shoot through them. But the lipstick would mark where your arrow went through at, so you could kind of score it. And
that sounds about right.
I'd have different shades of colors of lipstick in my quiver. People, I don't know, that's probably one of those times in the world we might not want to talk about too much. But so that's how we got into the 3D. And then from there, I just got hooked on the 3D. And then, you know, more and more 3-dimensional targets were coming out. And again, everything is at the time there wasn't 12s. There was just 10s and 8s and 5s.
Right.
And then they added a center, you know, IBO ring. And then Wayne Pearson started becoming popular with the ASA and came up with this game that we play today with the lower 12. And so, you know, I just slowly started graduating up through each one, and really enjoyed the unknown part of it. I know, you know, a lot of folks kind of complain, or some of these youth today, they grew up with a rangefinder in their pocket. They don't understand the art of the game and the strategy, and the reason why the game was developed was that risk reward thing. And, you know, you better have your yardage on, and maybe you better add another yard in and aim at it. Or to me, it's a game, and it's just like chess or checkers or any other game. It's different than a known shoot. Right. And it's its own discipline.
It's funny. I find myself, if I am going out to shoot a 3D, I just generally don't take a rangefinder, just because I like that aspect of it. And when I started shooting 3D, there really were no rangefinders. I didn't have one. I couldn't afford one. And that's what the 3D shoot was. Hey, this allows me to practice real life situations for bow hunting. You know, I get to see these targets, help me with my range estimation.
Right.
And I love that strategy aspect of it.
That's why it's a game. To me. And the other thing is to your point where, you know, you're able to work and practice for bow hunting and different things. I would say of the animals I've shot in the last 10 years, I would say half of them I haven't had time to range because of whatever the situation's been. Yep. So, you know, it's been good for that.
I shot antelope in Montana a couple years ago, and it ended up being a good one. It's like 88 inches. It was a big one. Ooh, but he came in on a decoy, came charging in, was at like 10 yards. So then I went to full draw, but he looped around and went out and stopped. I'm at full draw. I was like, well, that looks like about 39. Shot it and got him, but there was no time to do anything else. And I don't know if that was just my brain because I shoot a lot of unknown, that it just knew where to go, or it could have been pure luck, let's be honest. Whatever it was, it worked out. But that's a skill. That's a skill that impresses me when I see guys like you going out there and being able to tell the difference between 44 and 47 yards, that's a skill.
Well, I think it's something that, I've been doing it so long. I think it does come naturally more to some folks than others. My wife always says that she's got to have a rangefinder. But if you go out there and spend enough time, it can be learned.
Right. So. And someone in your shoes where that is, for ASA, that's in the pro class, it's going to be unknown. I kind of like the fact that there's both. Known,
I do
unknown.
Too.
So you can pick whatever you want to do.
I do too. And there's obviously the known pro class, in my opinion, is the deepest class. There's 50 guys in there that could win at any given time. That's everybody knows how far it is, and it is. I mean, there's still strategy in that game too, on how you aim at it. When do you aim hard at one? When do you lay up? All these different things. But it's just a different game.
Yeah. And I mean, an 8 there is really deadly compared to an 8 in the unknown side. Kyle Douglas shoots in. I think he shot an 8. What was it, Kyle? You were filming him. It was like his next to last target or something. He was clean all weekend. Yeah. And then he shot one real late in his round, and it didn't affect where he was, but I know it personally.
Yeah. He was telling me that there's no reason why somebody can't shoot a 660. Yeah. A 460.
460, yeah.
Yeah. And I know he wants to be the first one to break that barrier. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile or whatever.
Yes.
And so
I've seen people get close to that. And I know he was on pace. It was last year. He was on pace to hit it, and I think he ended up at 458 for the weekend. He had an 8 late again in the round, and I thought, oh, man, that's going to be our first 60.
Yeah.
Which is Jason Wilkins, who shoots crossbow class. He breaks that 60 all the time. He's another animal. He's like the Kyle Douglas with a crossbow.
Those guys, that crossbow class is not easy.
No.
I took a little four tournament break back in, I don't know, this has been 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was thinking, that's not that hard. That's hard. Those guys are gifted.
That is, yeah. I always thought, people tend to think, crossbow's easy. Yeah, come out and try and hang with them.
That's right. Those guys that are consistently out there at the top, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
you've said that for you in the ASA game, you want to make shoot down, you want to win one of those. So like going forward, there's 2 more events left here this season. What do you work on? Is there something particular in your game that you want to focus on? What are you working on these days?
So part of it is I've been spending a lot of time working on my form, working on my shot timing, trying to execute my release consistently. Again, that's part of why I went to one of the spot tournaments. That I'm a little out of my comfort zone in that type of target environment. And so I'm trying to work on that part of my game. I've been judging targets. I do have a range of targets at the house, and I'll try to go out in the evenings when it's cool and spend some time looking at the targets and practicing judging. But it's a lot different judging targets in Colorado in an open alpha field versus in all these other environments that we see targets at. And so I tend to judge my targets more by the silhouette. And even that's different because I can see the detail on the targets in an open field differently than I can in the dark woods.
Yeah.
So, but I tend to acclimate pretty quick at the events, and generally we always have a target or two that will cost you, certain amount of places or whatever. But generally that's not my issue. It's more of my shooting. And so I've been working mostly on my shot execution and spending a lot of time every day working hard, trying to I don't want to be that guy that shows up one weekend and then you never hear from me again. So
yeah, that's one of the things I meant to ask. So yeah, being from Colorado and having your targets in the open, did that help you then when you went to the field in London from out of the woods? Boom! Now you're on the baseball field, wide open.
Yeah, I felt like it did actually. I don't feel like I judged the targets that bad. I had the turkey. I was a couple yards strong, but I wouldn't have changed anything. As first target out, I don't want to, drop low. I aim at lower 12s. I have a real hard time aiming at the uppers just because I've been doing it so long. It's just natural for me to aim at the lowers.
Yeah.
So the way I judge distance is I judge what I think it is, and then I generally will add one at the longer yards, build a little bit of buffer in and aim at it. And so the turkey I hit, 2 yards tall of the lower 12. You got the nerves, your pin's floating around a little bit more than usual. I was good with that. Moving on to the short deer, I felt like I had that yardage. I hit just right of the 12. That's where the pin was. Again, you're moving around a little, nerves are getting you. The mountain lion, I had the yardage on. I hit left. I watched the live feedback, and several people hit left.
Everybody, yep.
I'm not exactly sure if there was a little bit of breeze down there or something, but I felt like I had good yardage on really everything in the shoot off, to include the coyote that I missed. I would have hit the target. I would have been high in the target. I would have hit the target with a good shot.
We went looking for your arrow, incidentally. We couldn't find it.
Well, what I did too.
Did you?
Too. It was kind of, here's what's funny is I name my arrows with family members' names and such.
Oh, cool.
And I just, whatever one I pull out is the one I'll start with. And I stuck with it all weekend, and it was my nephew, Jacob. I shot him all weekend. He got me to the shoot off. But I told my wife, I said, if I make the shoot off, I'm going to shoot my 5 kids' names.
Okay.
And that's what I did. Oldest to youngest, shot the 5 kids through the shoot off. And then I said, if there's a 6th arrow, I'm going to shoot my wife. So I shot my wife out of the park.
Oh, no.
Literally out of the park.
And that's the one that's gone.
Yeah.
Did you see? So we thought we heard it hit the fence. What did you see when you shot?
I knew exactly what I threw my arm up. Hammered the trigger. And it's hard to admit that, but my pin was sitting about 1.5 yards under the 14. And it was a target panic, a mental thing.
Yeah.
And I could not get that pin up there.
Wow.
And the clock's ticking. You feel like you're at full draw for a long time. And I just threw it up there and right over its back. So I did hear it click a little bit of chain link. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a hill then that dropped off pretty steep after that, so that thing could have sailed a while.
Well, when I went back there was, it looks like one of the youth ranges was back behind there.
Yep.
And I thought it would have been real ironic to find it in the 14 of a coyote on the kids range, but no such luck.
No such luck. You could have said, I thought you were talking about that target down there.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, I like to ask folks, so archery work, that's your business. That's what you're doing, competing. What do you do when you're not doing archery? I mean, you have 5 kids. I'm guessing that takes up some time. But is there something you do that is not archery?
Primarily archery, although I just have started getting into fishing a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so just started doing a little bit of bass fishing the last 5-6 years. And we don't have a ton of great bass fishing in Colorado.
Yeah.
But
good trout fishing.
We do have good trout fishing. Yeah. But so that's probably what I do for fun.
What's the age span of your kids there?
I've got quite the age span. My oldest is 32.
Okay.
And my youngest is 16.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm sure that keeps you busy.
It It does. Yep. So they're all doing good. One of them just graduated with her bachelor's this year at ASU, nice. And then my son just graduated as a senior in high school, and it was pretty cool to watch him. He was the valedictorian, so he gave the speech, and he'll be headed to ASU this fall.
All right.
I've got one more in high school.
One more to go.
One more. She'll be a junior.
Are any of them archers?
Not my oldest daughter, but my next two daughters are archers, and actually both of them have won on the ASA Pro-Am Tour in their respective classes. So I've had Taylor, she's 23. She's won the women's hunter class, and of course high school pins and all that when she was younger.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, Maddie, who's 22, she's won the women's known 40 and a bunch of other eagle classes and all that growing up. But it's kind of funny because they all give me a hard time. My wife actually, when women's known was first starting, my wife won Paris, Texas.
No kidding.
And so I'm the one who shoots all these tournaments and has never won one, but they've all won. So, yeah.
Wow, that's got to be tough coming home to that. Dad, I got. Well, how come you didn't win one?
Yeah, they've got all the fancy checks and plaques, and so it's kind of funny.
It's coming. I can tell it's coming.
It's coming. Yeah.
All right, folks, that is another episode of the Competition Archery Media Podcast. Shawn Greathouse, congrats on your finish there in London, and we appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me, PJ.
Folks, the CAM podcast is available on all the platforms, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks for joining us.